So go ahead and bring him back in. Bring us into the episode, Larry.
Welcome back to the Mancave podcast, everybody. This is your host, Larry Brown.
Found a new toy in this bitch.
Oh, George is going crazy with the Rodecaster. Now we're going to see if you leave that out or if you edit this whole shit.
Oh, it'll be in there.
Oh, okay. Well, today we are doing What Is Being a Dad Part 2. The first one we didn't really get to dive in deep like I like to go.
You like to go real deep.
I like to go real deep, yeah. But we only got to scratch the surface. But today we have Jorge's cousin, Jordan.
Special one because I have first family member on the show today. And actually the first Hispanic guest. That we
First family member. Is it your first one?
Yes. You had your dad on.
Well, your wife was here.
She wasn't on the show, though.
She was on the camera.
She wasn't on the show, Larry.
Your son was screaming in the background.
Bullshit.
Yeah. That don't count.
But yeah, I have my cousin Jordan. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jordan.
How you doing? I'm Jordan. What else should I say?
There you go.
I was like, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great episode.
Jordan's not
we're
really.
We're going to be fucking around with Jordan.
Yeah. Oh.
Let's do it.
This is like when the orcas slap dolphins out the fucking ocean.
Wildin'. You know, when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, oh, I'm gonna bring this up to Jordan because you know how you have things in your life that kind of mold you or change you a little bit.
Talking about everything is from your childhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna bring up some shit. I'm like, I'm not ready to talk about that.
No, it's simple. It's just something that I was like, okay. I remember one day you and like Ruben or somebody else was like hanging out, and that must have been like 11 or 12. I was like, oh, can I come with you guys? You were like, no. I was like, damn, why? You was like, because you're boring. I was like, all right, fuck it then, right? And then I had to change everything about myself.
Wow. Was that like the pivoting point?
I was like, I'm a boring motherfucker, so let's change this shit.
Wow.
Was that me? Who
That
said
was that came out of your mouth.
That came out of my mouth. I believe it because I'm really blunt, and I've learned that over the years. But I don't remember this at all.
I do.
I want to say sorry, but if it helped, then I'm not sorry.
Hey, you know, I got a podcast now, man.
Oh, shit. Shout out to Jordan, the third leg of the Man Cave podcast. He's the fucking trailblazer for you, George.
But no, there's a reason I invited my cousin on today. It's because, like Larry said, this is the second episode or part 2 of what it means to be a dad.
Yes.
Jordan just had his first son.
Congratulations.
So talk about, how long you've been married and how old the kid is, and just give us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm married to Nandi. Shout out. She made me do that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, George.
Yeah. We've been married 2 years now. Our anniversary was actually on the 12th.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. My son is 7 months old. Me and her have been together for 4 months. And that's it. It was funny though. I met her.
Years?
Hold on.
What?
Your son is 7 months. Y'all have been together 4 months?
4 years.
You said 4 months.
I said 4 months.
Yeah, we got it recorded.
Holy shit.
He was like, what kind of magic did this guy figure out?
Fuck my brain up. I said,
Some man's been with her for 4 months. They got a
carried
7-month-old.
6.
Nah.
Yeah. But yeah, I met her years ago on Tamara's prom. So it was
okay.
prom
Who's Tamara?
for
My
her
sister.
sister.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife and his sister are best friends.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. How's that weird?
So Tamara, does Nandi be like talking to Tamara about stuff that you guys that should be between you and her?
I don't care if she does because that's why you have friends to talk about the
guess.
shit you can't talk to your significant other about.
Yeah, because I'm like,
I don't care
she's
because
shitting on you to your
cousin.
I don't care.
Jordan's a fucking bitch today. And Tamara's
Don't talk
like,
about my cousin.
No,
Tamara wouldn't give a fuck.
yeah.
No, but yeah. So I feel like there's a stigma that like positive father figures, right? Like it's not a thing that's represented a lot. We always hear about bad father figures, not in the picture. So I know a lot of people that are good dads, right? And I try my hardest to try to be one as well. So that's why I asked you to come on, talk about some experiences that you've had, some of your fears beforehand. So let's just get into it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious, were you scared like leading up to it? No. Well, how are you feeling?
So I've always known I wanted to be a dad. So, like, you know, when you're little, people ask, "Oh, what you want to do when you grow up?"
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. I never knew like career wise what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be a father, and that came from the fact that I didn't have my father growing up.
Okay.
Like, I was raised by my grandparents, and they made it known like what happened as far as like with my mom and my father, and it was always just like, okay, so how would I have been different if he was in the picture? And just early on, I was like, I want to be there for my son or my daughter, whoever, if whatever comes. But I want to be there in their life to be able to help them and just be there. Because like growing up without the father, without my mother, it was difficult to talk to my grandparents about things because there was the generational gap, and then the fact that there was a language barrier because they're from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Like, they speak
Straight
Spanish.
motherland.
Yeah. My grandmother understands English because she told us once we started going to elementary school and middle school, talk to me in English so then I understand. So then I'm not just like held back and I don't know what y'all saying. But there was the generational gap, the language barrier. There was things that I couldn't bring up to them because how do you talk to them? Like,
from a different time.
It's from a different time, and just like,
and even though you there's love there, you know that's not your parents.
Yeah.
You know, like that's always gonna be there for you.
Yeah.
That, you know, I wish I had, you know, mom or dad to talk to. That's not my situation. You had your grandparents, and you know, even on top of the gap, it's just like, this is not my parents.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel like, I mean, we've never actually even had this conversation. No. Like, you must have felt isolated, felt alone. Did you just like, is that something that you kind of struggled with, or like, how did you push through that?
Yeah. So loneliness was always a thing there. Like, I always did feel like I was alone. Mm-hmm. I had a huge family, so like hanging out was always a thing. Like, you guys would be over the house all the time. We would go over there. Ruben, Sam, everybody was there. But like, at the end of the day, I was alone.
There was something missing.
Like, even though Stephanie, my sister, was down the hall right next to me, it was just like, who did I actually get to talk to about feelings, emotions, fears, hopes, dreams? I didn't really have that. But right now, looking back, knowing what I know, like seeing how people were with their parents, how parents are with their kids, I don't know if I did miss out on much. Like, growing up, I felt like there was something missing completely. But now looking back, I'm like, the things that I wanted, that I thought I was missing, I don't know if anyone really actually got. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, having deep conversations with your parents about certain things.
Because that's just not what our
our
family did. They just didn't do that.
We didn't do that. So I don't know if my father was in the picture, if that would have happened. Like,
and that's one thing that I also, like, obviously I have both of my parents, but never had serious conversations in that way. Never did. Like, and when I had my kids, that's one thing that I knew was going to happen, right? Like, I'm going to talk to them regularly. We're going to have conversation. We're going to build a relationship. Because that was kind of absent when I was growing up. And that's one thing that, like, I wanted to point out, like, to make the decision to change that is big, right? Because we could always fall victim to the cycle. Mm-hmm. We can see, oh, this is how they did it, so that's how I'm going to do it, right? And that's easy. But to get your your thought process away from their thought process and be like, well, what did I miss as a kid? What do I think that they did poorly that I can improve on? Right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the goal. Like, you want your children to be better than you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's always the thought of, I want my son to have the things I didn't have and not look at me as like, oh, this is my hero. I want him to look at me as like, oh, this is the person that's raised me. He's been there my entire life, but I know that he wants more for me than he had. So that's one of the things is like generational wealth. That's not a conversation we ever had. Like my grandparents would tell me always, "Oh, you need to save. You should save. You should save." But I didn't see them like what was the reason? Why were you telling me this without like showing me what the outcome is? We didn't go on vacations. We didn't have nice things or buy anything really. Like my grandparents had always had a car. They had their home, but they bought their home back in a time when the city had a program where you paid $1, rebuilt it yourself, and then after I think it was like 5 or 10 years, it was yours.
Yeah.
So like I didn't see the building of wealth or the management of wealth, and that's something that I want my son to see.
Yeah. Man, I'm happy to hear that you are essentially a good dad to your kid, because you have your dad growing up, because I didn't have mine either. And that's something to think about a lot. It's like, damn, like, am I able to be a good parent to my son or my daughter, even though I've never had that role model in my life? You know, and I'm now like, and it doesn't help that I have a younger brother who's his dad's not in his life either, and I call myself trying to like fill that void with him by being, you know, present and being kind of like a male role model for him to look up to. And now I'm getting backlash for it, like, "Oh, you're not my dad," like type of shit. So it's like, damn, am I doing something wrong? And if I can't even be a good big brother for my little brother, like how the fuck am I going to be a good dad? You know what I mean?
How old is your brother?
He'll be 15 in December.
All right, so you're not doing anything wrong if if you're getting that pushback, because whenever you see stuff on like TV or movies, the kids always around that age are always
Assholes.
That's true.
And even when there's the surrogate father figure, they always go to that, "You're not my father," even though you're just doing what's in the best interest for them. You're telling them, you're giving them the advice that they need, even though they don't want it. And even though they don't want to hear it, they have to. Like at the end of the day, you shouldn't be sugarcoating things for your kids or for your family members where you're filling that void, because they need to hear this. If they don't hear it from you, they don't experience it, they're eventually going to learn it from the real world.
Yeah, that's true. And it's kind of like what we talked about before, right? Is like there's good role models and there's bad role models. So by me not having a role model and then getting to kind of see like how everybody else was doing shit, I was able to pick from each body, like, "Oh, I'm going to be this type of dad. I'm going to take my kids to the park. I'm going to make sure that my kid gets dropped off at school and you know, and make sure he gets home okay. And I'm not going to tell him he's a pussy or, you know, what are you crying for?" And punch him in his chest because he doesn't make a fucking jump shot at basketball practice. Like, I was able to kind of like figure out what type of dad I wanted to be because there was no role model there for me to piggyback off of.
When you heard the news that Nandi was pregnant, how did she do it? Did she do it like in a fancy dancy way? Like
did you set a forest on fire?
Yeah, but
Oh God, no.
but like, what were you feeling like when you heard that news?
So I was, of course, excited, but the thing is, since we got married, it was like that was the next thing.
Yeah, of course.
So it was like,
Of
all
course.
right, I know what's coming. We had a previous like scare, I guess. Not scare, but it's like, "Oh, are you pregnant? Are you not?" And then we kind of found out like super early on because we went. She thought she was pregnant. I thought she was pregnant. We went to get tested, and then the nurse or whatever was like, "It's too early to tell. Like it looks like there's something there, but it's too early to tell. Come back in like 2 weeks." We came back in 2 weeks, and they're like, "There's your baby."
Yep.
It's like, yeah, so it's happening. So we already knew it was coming, and like she was on top of like everything.
They
On
always-
you?
Yeah.
Tell Molly.
What?
What's your question?
No, he said she was on top of.
No.
That's how we. That's
how they got
how the
there.
babies get there.
That's how babies are made. But yeah, no, we knew the baby was coming. We were planning for it, and yeah, we had just like the way we did everything was like, all right, so we know we're getting older, and she had fears because her mother had issues conceiving. So she was like, I don't want to wait till I'm older.
Yeah,
Because once what is it? Once they hit like 35, they get classified as
high risk.
Not even high risk. There's a specific word where it's like you're an old person, basically. Geriatric pregnancy. And she was like, I don't want that. And I was like, yeah, no, that's weird. Yeah. At 35, it's geriatric. It's weird. And the risk of miscarriage just goes up by a lot once you hit 35. So it was like, yeah, we need to do this now. Plus, I don't want to be an old parent. Yeah, I don't want to be 60, like still raising a teenager.
How old are you now?
I'm 32 right now.
Okay. How old is she?
She's 30.
Okay. Are you guys talking about another one? Or you guys?
So I don't want him to be an only child.
Mm-hmm.
I want at least like 2 more kids, but nothing more than that. I don't want 4 kids, 5 kids.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's too much. I feel like I wouldn't be able to have the attention span to spread it out evenly and like to give everyone the attention they need.
So you said that you weren't afraid of being a dad as far as the kind of dad you would be, right? Because you kind of at a young age was like, I'm going to try my hardest to do it right. Yeah. But coming from how we were raised, right, financial stability was never an example. We never saw it, like you said earlier. Was that something that scared you, that you would not be able to financially provide for the child? And or if there's 2 or 3 more kids, is that something that's always in the back of your mind?
So that's not a fear in my mind, because I've always felt like when I need to do something, I do it. As far as like when something needs to be done, I can change my way of thinking, my way of being, and just get the job done. So taking care of 3 kids, that's something that, even though right now I'm not financially in that place, if it comes, I will be. I will do whatever I have to do to get there, and it'll be done.
See,
I'll take care of them.
That's something that's always, like, we've talked about it before. Like, me and Alina's were together, like, yeah. And before we even decided to get, like, I made the decision to ask her to marry me, we were already together 6 years, 7 years. And the reason it took so long is because you know what comes after you get married. And my thing, like, I didn't want kids because 1, I didn't think I'd be good at it. 2, I didn't think I would be able to provide. And I did everything in my power to become financially stable, so that when that happens, because I know it's coming, that I would be ready. But it's never done for me. Yeah. It's like, we're okay, but okay is not good enough. Yeah. And that's how I'm always thinking. Like, it's just like, I need to do better. I need to do more, because who knows what the fuck is going to happen? That's true. And we have 2 now. You know what I mean? That's more fucking diapers. That's more formula. That's more clothes. And being okay is not good enough.
Did you feel like after you had your first son, that you were invigorated somehow, like rejuvenated, like, oh man, this is like, let me kick shit into high gear and do this and do this? Did you feel like...
I think I was already there beforehand. Okay. Like, to be, what, 25?
Leading up to the pregnancy or leading up to his birth?
No, leading to the marriage. Okay. Like, I was like, I gotta be on it. Yeah. Because, I have to provide for her. Yeah. Right? And we had long conversations about wanting kids, or her wanting kids and me not wanting it. And then me having to figure out within my, that why didn't I want kids? Right. And then making the decision to marry somebody who did is like, well, I need to change that. Yeah. Because I'm going to be with her forever, and I'm not going to refuse her that life. I'm not going to deny her something that she wants. Right. That's so important to her. No. So before that, I kicked it into gear from, I think it was for like 5 months at the vitamin shop. I was still assistant manager. I worked every single day, not a day off. They approved overtime. I was working from 9 to 9 for like 5 months in a row, because I knew that I was going to ask her to marry me. And I knew that when I asked her to marry me, we're going to want to buy a house. And I knew that when we did that, you're going to have kids. Yeah. And that's why, like, I did that stupid amount of overtime so that I can be okay. I can get the ring. And then we also already have money.
Yeah.
Right. And then I fought tooth and nail to be promoted to the store manager position. And I'm constantly looking for a better job. I'm constantly looking for more money because I need it. I can't not think, okay, I'm done. No, can't do it.
Yeah, no, I think the way you did it is how I kind of would move. Like, I know I have a few friends who, like you, Jordan, they were like, man, if I have kids, like, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to provide for them. But I come from the world of you just don't know what the fuck is going to happen. So, like, I would rather, like, work my ass off leading up to it, have some sort of plan, even though I know plans can go to shit sometimes. Like, I get it. But I would rather have some sort of plan, roadmap, something laid out so that I know how to move forward. Like, okay, I need X amount of dollars for savings because this is what it's going to cost for me to pay my mortgage for 12 months. Or, this is, if in the event that my wife needs to start working, how much money do I need to be bringing in extra so I'll have this in savings, that type of shit. Like,
what are you doing?
The whole one parent working thing.
The
that's
one
hard.
income,
That is hard.
yeah, I don't want to do it. I'm saying, like, God forbid.
If you have to.
Yeah, if
like
I have
that's
to.
kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Because Alina's hasn't worked in, like, I guess 4 months now because she went on the maternity leave and then she had the baby. She has but it's not paid maternity leave. Like,
sucks.
yeah. So she has no income coming in.
Right.
So I've been paying the mortgage alone, the cars alone, and it's because I prepared.
Yeah.
Because I have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were, like, when she had kids that she would not be going back that quickly, or it's just you don't plan for her not to have money. We've always been split, like, 2-income house, and then, like, that gone.
Yeah.
I have to be the one to step up and do all of that. But I didn't, I can't wait for it to happen. I have to be on go all the time because I've seen what happens when bills don't get paid.
Yeah.
Light, gas gets shut off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, having to get an electric, like, hot pan, getting water, boiling it, and then going to take a bath. Been there. I will not allow that to happen for my kids.
And let me walk back something earlier I said, because I said I don't want to have to provide for my wife. Like, I want to be in a position financially where I will be one day, where my wife doesn't have to work. But I'm saying from a sense, like, if something were to happen to her, I don't want that for her. Like, I want her to have the choice of, like, I don't have, I can go to work or I can not go to work. Like, because at the end of the day, like, I don't mind bearing the burden of going to work. I enjoy working. I enjoy making money. It's just kind of who I am. And she doesn't.
Do you guys get anxiety when you don't work? Because it's a weird thing. Like, I'll have anxiety, like, in the morning. Like, oh, I gotta go to work. But then when I'm not working for an extended period of time, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with myself? Like, what's
Like,
happening?
you need to be doing
I
something.
need to be doing something to be, like, because if I'm not doing something, I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be doing something.
I'm the same way. If I'm not working, I'm super lazy.
Yeah.
I get anxiety for the simple fact that I don't get a steady paycheck. Like, I'm
I was gonna
self-employed.
ask you about that.
Yeah, so I have to eat what I kill. So if I'm not working, I'm not making money.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably different for you. You probably be like, thank God I got a fucking day off.
Yeah.
Your check is guaranteed.
Yep. So yeah, no, I mean, if I'm not working and it's not like there's a regular day off, or if it's not PTO, then yeah, because what the fuck? I'm not working. I got no money coming in. No, I'm gonna go sell ass in the street. Something's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. So yeah, that anxiety is gonna come in. No, for sure. But even when I might, do I have those days off? No, I just hang out with the family. I got 2 kids. I have a wife, house. You know what I mean? So that doesn't give me anxiety.
Did you see your dad going to work every day?
Yeah, that's the only
instilled that in you.
He did that for sure. My man on regular has 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just like, I don't want to be in this fucking house, or he was just like, chasing the bag.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit of both.
Both for sure.
Yeah.
4 kids, like you try to leave the crib, you know what I mean?
Tom Brady.
Right. But no, he always had,
Yeah.
3, 4 jobs. Always had some shit on the side that he was doing, flipping cars or whatever.
That's probably why, because like I see your work ethic, I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? But then I think, George was always, he was always working. It didn't matter where. If it was at Pizza Hut, if it was at a mechanic shop, he was always working.
Yeah.
So that's like, I see that as what instilled your work ethic, and that's what I want to be able to, like, if he only picks up one thing from me, I hope it's just like, you have to work. You have to keep trying to better yourself constantly and just be able to provide for not only yourself, the people that you love. So like that's something that I don't see myself. I can't see myself living off the government, which is something that we saw a lot of growing up.
I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah, like if you live in the city, you know somebody that just is living off the government. And it's difficult because that's a trap. Like welfare is a system that once you get
reliant.
you become reliant, and then if you're a child growing up in that system, it's really hard to just have the mentality of that's not going to be me, because you see how easy it is to just, okay, so I mean, if I'm not working, I can get Section 8, and then I can get food stamps, and then I can do this, and then I'll have enough money for, like, if I want to drink every fucking day, like, I'll still have money for that, and if not, I'll just do an under-the-table job and still collect money this way and that way. It's like, it's really difficult to break that mentality and that cycle.
Yeah.
But, like, breaking that was one of the things I thought about a lot growing up, was like, because my grandparents were both on SSI disability. I'm like, okay, they're on a fixed income. There's not much wiggle room for anything. If there's an emergency, thank God my grandmother saved the little bit that she could every check, and that's what we lived off.
Right.
But it was like, there's no security there besides depending on the government, and that's not anywhere I ever want to be at ever again.
All right, so I did want to jump into another thing that was always a big fear of mine as well, is discipline. Because especially when you have boys, as a man, you have to teach them to be men, and you have to teach them that their actions have consequences. And still to this day, like, I only have a 2.5-year-old and a 2-month-old, but it's still like, I don't know how to discipline my kids. I don't know. I've seen how I was, right? Getting my ass whooped, right? Like, I don't want to do that.
Like, at all?
If it's like a big thing, like, I don't have a problem spanking my son. But it's not like that's the only method that I want to do. Like, it has to be deserved. It's not like, oh, here's Tuesday, got to get my 6 p.m. beating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not what I want. Like, if it happens, he has to know, oh, I fucked up. Right? Like, that's the only time that I would do it. Outside of that, I just don't, like, how do you discipline a child?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's your plan?
So, spanking is not off the table for me and my wife. My wife she's already said, I don't really think I can do the discipline side of raising a child, so that's going to fall on you. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so we're raising a boy. He's going to become a man, unless for whatever reason he becomes transgender. Don't know, don't care. If that's what happens, that's what happens. But at the end of the day, I have to raise you the way I think is best. And spanking, the whole physical discipline side of it, is the easiest. Yeah. That's the easiest way of, like, cause and effect. Something will happen when you do something bad. That's the easiest one. That's probably the first thing you do as far as discipline, because, like, they start reaching for everything early on. They start reaching for things. It's like, oh, are you just gonna be like, stop, please, stop? You have to do the hand smacking, like that happens, and that's the very first thing as far as discipline. That's what I'm going through right now, because he's reaching for everything, and he's strong. He grabs the the little end table and just starts dragging it. I'm like, dude, stop that. You can't grab everything. But as far as like besides that, because once physical discipline can only go so far before they're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And it goes from I don't care to, oh, you will. And then it starts escalating. That's not where I see anything positive coming from. So it's like spanking is on the table, but when it's deserved. And as far as like other forms of discipline, like social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that, I feel like there's so much bad information and advice on there. I was watching one clip my wife was showing me. It was like this mother was talking about how she doesn't tell her daughter no. Yeah, she was like, oh, I don't tell my daughter no. I just try and get her to change her behavior or actions into something positive. I'm like, you don't tell your child no? Like that's horrible.
Yeah.
Eventually they're gonna learn that you can't just do whatever you want. And like you have to show them what the real world is like, cause and effect. Like if you do something you're not supposed to, something will happen that you don't like.
Yes. How the fuck are you raising a kid without telling them no?
That's so
life,
weird.
Part of being successful in life is overcoming rejection and obstacles and failure. And if your kid is not learning that they can fail or they can run into an objection, what the fuck are they going to do?
Exactly.
They're going to have a meltdown, a breakdown, and then somebody's going to lock their ass up because they think something's the fuck wrong with them.
Yeah.
You're raising somebody who's going to turn out to be like a spoiled, entitled little shit. No, I'm telling my kid no.
That's the problem with like growing
TikTok.
up with money. Like,
Yeah.
do y'all remember that guy who just ran over a bunch of people, and then their defense was, oh, he grew up with money and he doesn't know when you do something wrong, there's repercussions.
Was that at like the protests or something?
No. This was years ago.
No, I don't remember that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So this was the first time I heard the phrase affluenza. It sounds like influenza, like the flu. It just means that you come from an upbringing where you're not taught like cause and effect, where it's like you do something wrong, you
That
will
can't be a real fucking.
that's what their defense was.
Is
That's
that
what-
like an Urban Dictionary thing, or
I
is this like a
don't
real
think so.
term?
I've
I'll
heard
have to
this-
Google that shit.
Yeah, I've
That's
heard this
crazy.
term a lot more, but that was the first time I ever heard it. I think that was the first time anyone had ever heard it. But yeah, affluenza is like, it's stupid, but like there's a lot of bad advice on TikTok, Instagram, and a lot of it goes counter to how we were raised. It's like they completely reject every like discipline or just like how they were raised. It's really weird. Like I don't understand. I feel like our generation and the generation that's coming up behind us wants to distance themselves so much from the previous generation that we just reject everything. Like it's throwing the baby out with the
Reinventing-
bathwater.
Yeah,
It's-
reinventing the wheel for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to beat my kids.
But you will.
If I have to.
oh,
Yeah.
at one point, one time, at least once.
Just to see how it feels.
If nah, I don't want to have to. Like you said, I'm not taking it completely off the table. I would hope that I'm able to raise a kid where if I tell them no, stop, don't, I'm able to redirect them without using force. Because I'm kind of watching it play out where like you're having to use that method a little too much. And even studies will show that it makes children aggressive, right? Like, and I want my child to be able to articulate how they're feeling, right? Because I wasn't able to do that as a kid. I'm going to teach them how to do that. Articulate why they're doing the shit that they're doing. And I don't want them to fear me. I don't want my kid to fear me. Like that's my biggest thing. I want my kid to see me as somebody that they can go to and talk to about anything. And if it's something super fucked up, obviously there's consequences. But I want them to like, you know, there's an opportunity here for you to learn something. And it's not going to be by me whipping your ass. Like, you know, we'll go and correct whatever it is that you did, make amends with whoever we need to make amends with, and then chart a new plan of action. Because I want to raise a kid who's a thinker, like, and I don't know. I know for a fact, actually, I'm not gonna say I don't know. I know for a fact that fear has a negative effect on your ability to think and your ability to process emotion. Like it dampens it entirely. So I want them to hopefully turn out to be somebody who is, poised and is like constantly feeling loved or is able to give love even in their lowest situations. Like, I don't want them to be like, because I had a hard time with like dealing with stress at times. Like I would shut down from shit. Like I might not lash out at you, but I'm gonna put distance between me and you or whatever. And it's not because like my mom beat me or whatever, but like I don't know other than the fear of telling her like, oh, I did X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? And getting the consequences as a result. Like, I don't know where else that would come from other than somebody not telling me and taking the time to explain, like, yo, you can't do that because this is going to happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, like, actually having a relationship with your child.
Yes.
Like, with your situation with Nandi, I think that's a lot of situations with, a lot of married couples is the wife goes, the disciplining is on you. I can't do it. That's not on me. You're going to handle it, right? But now you have to maneuver it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Or you become the adversary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You become, you're the fear, you're the punishment, you're the consequence, and that's all they know you as, right? But if you don't develop that relationship prior, right? Because they need to know that if they get punished, it was deserved. Not like, oh, dad only comes around or dad only talks to me or whatever when I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
No, you can't have that because I never had conversations with my dad outside. Shout out to him and my parents. Obviously they tried their best. That's all. You see that as you grow up, his parents are also just trying to figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
But I never had a conversation with my dad, like outside of maybe when he was drinking, and then he would sit me down and we would have a conversation.
That's more so being talked at.
Yeah.
Being told old stories.
But that's it. So. Do I have a relationship with him? I'm going to say no. I mean, I don't know who he is as a person. And that's important because like you said, you want, and like you said, for him or your child, he or her, to come to you when they need something. If they're afraid of you, they're not going to fucking come to you.
No, they're going to do shit behind your back.
Yeah. I would rather my son tell me what the fucked up shit he does or is thinking of doing before doing it and then being like, Dad, I fucked up. It's like, why? What was your thinking? Because, like, I don't know. Like, if my son gets older and then starts selling drugs, I'm like, you either Tony Montana or you getting out the game. Like, you need to either be all in because you have to understand the consequences that you will face. And you're not doing this for fucking $500 a week. Like, that's dumb. Yeah. Like, if you're going to do something, you do it.
Do it big.
Do it big. Like, don't do it.
If you're going to sell drugs, you better be the best drug dealer there is.
Yeah. If you're thinking, oh, yeah, I need money. All right, so either slow and steady, or if you're going to do something stupid like that, just know what's going to happen. Yeah. And if you're going to just... Because the consequences for selling drugs, for the most part, is almost the same. Like, if you get caught with a little bit of drugs or a lot of drugs the very first time, 9 times out of 10, it's a slap on the wrist. But, like, if you're going to do that, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
And if you're just thinking, oh, I can do this and blah, 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 like, because a lot of the times we're influenced by what we see and what we hear around us growing up. And fast money is always the most attractive. And it's like, no, you have to understand if you're going to do that, you're all in. Once you are in that life, you're in that life. If that's not what you're going to do, don't do that. If you want to become a lawyer, you have to know how much work is going to go into it. You have to know what your life is going to be like afterwards. Once you get that degree, it's not over. Like you're constantly going to be having to study, have to learn new things, and then there's also the anxiety, the stress that comes with that. If you're ready for that and that's what you want, then go for it 100% of the way. If you're like half in, half out, I don't know, then just understand that's probably not for you. That's not, you're not going to thrive in that environment and down that path.
So you didn't have your father in your life, but you had your grandfather and grandmother.
Yes.
I mean, on the surface, you seem like a pretty good dude. You've talked a lot about positive things today and how you're going to raise your child, your son, in a positive way. I mean, granted, you could be a serial killer out on the street. I wouldn't know, but like, would you to a serial killer? What the fuck? That is poorly timed, George.
You watched too much Dexter growing up.
Clearly, fuck. Would you attribute any of the way you think to like a positive male role model that you had in your life?
No, I feel like a lot of my thinking came from growing up and then learning things on my own. Like a lot
trial and error.
Yeah, a lot of who I am is completely different from my upbringing, and like my mentality is different from what my grandparents are. Except for like right now, I'm seeing the value in the things that my grandfather taught me as far as like physical labor. Like when I was like 13, 14, 15, I would work with him remodeling homes for we had a neighbor who ran the convenience store there, and her son started buying up homes, and whenever he would need some of them remodeled, he would come to us. So those skills are something I wish I had worked on a lot more. I wish I had took that to heart, where it was like when he told me start buying up these abandoned homes. I'm talking about 15 years ago, when buying a vacant property was like $5,000, $10,000, versus now my brother just bought a vacant one and it was $50,000. It was like,
well, we ain't gonna talk about your brother because he didn't hire me as the realtor. So. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, it was like there's a lot of those things that I didn't learn from them, but the things that I did learn, I wish I had like focused more on.
Why didn't you?
Because I don't know. That's a difficult question because there's a lot that goes into it. It's like in my early 20s, I wasted all of my money. I should have been saving. I was making good money growing up, and I should be further ahead in life than I am now. I don't regret the way things have happened because I'm where I'm at now. I'm with the woman that I love. I don't want to do this with anyone else. And like everything that happened led to where I'm at right now.
100%.
But like I can see where it's like, if I would have done that a little bit different, I would have been a little bit better off, and we would have been better off.
Yeah.
But being able to look back and think, all right, I was taught certain things. I do have certain skills that other people don't. I know how to put up drywall. I know how to do roofing because I did it when I was 13, 14. Like, there's people who don't have these skills, and then it's like, what do you have? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of the time, like a lot of office jobs are easily replaceable. Like, and that's what I thought would get me out of the ghetto. Working in an office job, doing a 9 to 5.
Because that's what you saw on TV.
That's what you saw on TV. Yeah. But then after doing that for 10 years, having a panic attack, talking to a therapist, and then she asked me, what do you want to do? The only thing that came to my mind was doing something where I'm not behind, I'm not in a cubicle, where like I can work with my hands. And that's when I finally thought the realization came to me is like, I was given the tools to do what would have made me happy. And instead I rejected it because I saw this lifestyle portrayed in media and movies, TVs. It's like, yeah, the So like you see the 6-figure people, men, women working jobs behind the cubicle desk, and it's like, but you don't see the person who owns a small business. Their business may make 6 or 7 figures, but at the end of the day, they do have to. Their responsibilities are different, but the stress is different. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Because like working behind a computer all day, especially if like you're on the phones. Let's say you're doing customer service. That's one of the worst jobs ever. I did that for 3 years during the pandemic, and I was in the health field. Like that was horrible. People calling, "Oh, I'm sick. Am I dying? Am I gonna die?" Like my aunt was sick and she's in the hospital still, and it was like, what's going on? That really like accelerated me getting out of that. Like the pandemic was crazy.
Let me say this. I think you answered the question earlier of why you didn't lean more into what your grandfather was teaching you, which is because he didn't value it right at the time. It's just like it was something like you saw it, but you didn't really appreciate what you were being taught. And it's like a lot of times we do that shit because we're young. Like we have this idea, like what's being portrayed to us on TV or whatever, right? And like, oh, like I'm not going to do this forever. I'm not worried about putting up sheetrock or drywall or whatever. I'm going to go get me a good job. I'm going to buy a house and have a beautiful wife and have a kid and blah, blah, blah. But then you get older and you're like, damn, like these were some good skills. Yeah. And life is not what the fuck it looks like on TV. So I could actually use some of those things that I had picked up along the way. Another thing, along the way. Oh my God.
Did it again.
Jesus.
Along the way.
I might as well just be Italian, bro. Like I can't get away from it. Fuck. But then the other thing I was going to say also is, George, if you touch that fucking air horn one more time, bro, I'm going to break this fucking roadcaster. The other thing I was going to say is that I think you said customer service is like the worst thing ever. Mm-hmm. And it probably was for you because it doesn't align with who you are and what you want, right? Well, I think it all depends. And that's probably why your therapist is asking you what you want to do, is because like self-awareness is one of the most key things that you can have in life, especially as an adult. And I think that's what having a dad helps young men to do. It's like you can look at somebody who obviously looks like you, right? This is your fucking dad. Hopefully y'all look alike. And then, you have somebody who can basically help you jump the learning curve in life, right? So like in my situation, I was raised by my mom, single parent. My dad was in jail for 18 years. So I literally didn't meet my dad until I was like a young kid. And that was only because my mom took me to see him in prison. And then he got out, but by that time I was already my own man. So my mom, she had little jobs here and there. She worked in retail, then she worked for a hospital for a couple of years. So I never had. So I'm an entrepreneur by heart, spirit, right? Like, because my father is also an entrepreneur. So like just kind of like the way that I'm built. But I never had anybody to help me cultivate those skills, to help me hone who I could potentially be later on, because my mom is something totally different. And it's not because maybe she is an entrepreneur at heart, but she didn't have anybody to teach her how to hone that either. But in your situation, George, your dad took you to the racetrack, right? Helped you get a job. Whether y'all had a great relationship or not, you at least had somebody to show you this shit ain't for me, right? Instead of you waiting 18, 20 years. I didn't get my real estate license until I was 25, I think. I was 25. This year will be 7 years. So I didn't get my real estate license until I was 25. If my dad had been in my life and talked more about real estate and showed me different things, maybe I would have got it at fucking 18 or 19 instead. But it took me forever to figure out what I didn't like, what I actually did like, because I was only working at half capacity. I only had one parent. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just like people downplay how important having a dad is, and it's fucking sad, because even studies will show, like we talked about the last time, having your father in your life is almost just as effective as having both parents. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking crazy.
Are you talking about the statistic of like if you're raised by a single father versus raised by a single mother, you're like
Exactly. You're
X times more likely to end up in jail?
Exactly. Or finish high school or be addicted to drugs, those types of things, which is crazy because when you look at TV or even like the holiday Father's Day, dads don't get shit.
No.
I'm looking forward to the day, though, that I get some socks, a nice wallet,
I'm gonna give you socks with my face on it. That's what you.
and an air horn. Yeah, man.
So the next thing I wanted to jump into is, like Alina's is one of those people where she is trying to, or wants the kids to grow up to be lawyers. That's what she wants, right? She's like, oh, they're going to be lawyers. She's going to make sure that she, teaches them how to be, this is what you're going to do and kind of push them in that direction. Don't know how that's going to play out, but that's what she wants, right? She wants to create the career for them.
Yeah.
Because, that it wasn't, her parents didn't do that for her. Our parents didn't do it for us. All my parents really wanted was like, as long as you finish high school, you're all good.
Yeah.
So I think having a parent kind of want to plan that for you can be beneficial because you see that they have your best interest. They want to help guide you. Now, obviously, they have to make their own fucking decisions.
Yeah.
And you can't just be like, well, no, you're going to be a lawyer. But still, even in families that are like, well, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to do this, and the parents like, no, this is what you're doing. Well, a lot of times those kids become that, and they do pretty well for themselves.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself being that kind of parent? Like, hey, I think that this is what I want you to do, and you kind of guide them, or are you just going to be like, let me see what kind of person he is?
So I've talked to Nandi about this, and I'm like, I don't really care what they do when they're adults, but I do know that as far as like schooling, I'm not going to push a college degree on my child because that's a lot of debt. I understand the value in what college brings, but a lot of that information is readily available online, and with just like the advancements that we're having with AI and all that, there's a lot of things that you can just learn. What I do want him to do is pick up a trade, be able to have something to fall back on, either do HVAC, do something physical, welding, something like that, where you have that you can fall back on, but you also have that you can build your own business out of.
Yeah.
So, and if at the end of the day, that's not what you want to do, if you want to make YouTube videos or whatever, go ahead and do that. But before you do that, understand that you do need to have that safety net of skills, of a certification, of something along those lines. So his career path is not for me to set, because even at the end of the day, I can say, oh, I want you to be a doctor, but I took prerequisites for med school, and I hated that. I hated biology. I hated is it physiology or whatever, that one. And it was like, all right, if I push this on my child, you're going to be pushing them to doing things that they don't want to do, even though like the benefits of being a doctor are you have a lot of money, you have a ton of money, but then there's also that stress.
Yeah.
There's the anxiety. Then there's also the fact that before you can reap the rewards of what you've done, you're stuck with a lot of debt.
Yeah.
That worst case scenario, something happens, and wherever you were like positioned at to be a doctor, let's say that hospital goes out of business, or let's say there's so many people pushing their kids to become doctors and lawyers that when you finally become a doctor or lawyer, there's no positions open because they can get they can get the same service for cheaper from someone else. Yeah. So it's like there's certain skills that I do want him to have before deciding his career path. And if like early on he's like he sees a movie or a show or something that influences him and he's like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer, then it's like, okay, if you want to be a lawyer, understand that you have to start now. Like, in high school, you have to you go to debate classes. You have to take those AP courses, understand that that's what you're going to have to do to get there. And when you get there, what comes after? Mm-hmm. Once you become that lawyer, is that what you want? Do you just want to do that? Do you want to start your own firm? Do you want to become a judge or transition from law into politics? Because a lot of politicians do start off through the law route. Is that what you want? Because once you become a lawyer, there is no end. It's like when you were little, you played life, right? You go around the board, and then there's an end where you retire. But you pick up a job, and then that's what you are for the rest of your life. That's not how life works. Yeah. Like you start wearing different masks, different hats. You start doing different things with the knowledge that you accrued. So if you wanted to be a lawyer, what comes after? Like, what are you going to do after that? So, yeah, I'm not going to push him in one direction, but I'm going to push for having that trade, being able to do something with your hands. Because, I mean, like, let's say we all go to war, right? Society collapses. What do you need a lawyer for when you need somebody to fix a hole in the wall?
Need somebody to explain why you shot 6 people trying to break into your house. Like,
yeah, it's like, all right, there's no law, so like, what's going on?
That's real. But to that point, like, there's 2 ways. Yeah, there's 2 ways that that could go mapping out your kid's life, right? Did you see King Richard? Will Smith?
Yeah.
Perfect example of how that shit can play out perfectly, right? That's a perfect example. Jesus Christ.
You love that word?
I'm laboring today, boy. But yeah, no, like having a plan doesn't hurt, I don't think. But yeah, I think you have to understand who your kid is, right? So she can want them to be lawyers all they want. If Eli takes his first jump shot from half court and it's all net, that motherfucker going to the league.
with a lawyer's degree. No, okay.
Oh yeah, he could. Shit.
Right.
You could always, you can always come out the league and during the summers and take summer classes for his law degree. Not wrong with that. Yeah, that's what I want to do for my kids though. I want to have like a plan for them to be able to get through life, but let them kind of like make their own decisions. Yeah. Like I don't want to be the guy like you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. Like I think kids resent their parents for that type of shit.
Yeah, and I think me just working straight out of school and, doing that, I think college, like we talked on another episode, is if you don't know what you want to do and you're just going to college because, hey, I need to go to college, and now you're getting your philosophy degree for absolutely no reason, or I'm an art major, it's just like... You're kind of just doing it for fun. Yeah. That's a clip for the art majors. You know what I mean? They're gonna be out there. Well, actually, I'm an art major, right?
Oh my god,
that's my new favorite fucking button. But if you have an idea of what you want to do, and it's like, well, I need a degree to do it, that's perfect. Yeah. So. Like me and Alina's are already like we should have started it with Eli 2 years ago. We had the conversation beforehand and just never pursued it. But now we're actually looking into starting a savings account for both of them and putting money in regularly because I don't want them to be left with that debt if they decide to go to college, right? And if they decide to be like, I do like debating and I do want to be a lawyer and it does look like fun. I want to be able to help provide with those finances. Not just be like, okay, hopefully we get grants, hopefully we do this, and then he's on his own with that debt. Yeah. No, I want to be able to provide for that to help him out, help both of them. So I think like that's a thing that like I said, our parents didn't do that. I think you need to. It's a good idea. And if they don't go to school, they do something else. You still have that money for them. You know what I mean? So.
What's one thing you think you wish your dad had taught you or had done for you?
I don't know. I think communication could have been better. Like I said, we never had conversations. The only time that people even confronted one another was always in an argument.
Yeah.
So communication was not very good. And that's the thing that I've been practicing. That's the thing that I had to change about myself, because that was the only way that I knew how to, get something off of my chest, was I had to argue. I had to yell. I had to be aggressive. Talking about something was not something that came natural to them.
Yeah.
So problems were only resolved in that way. So I wish that could have been changed, because that took a long time for me to fix. And it plays into like anger issues, because you think that's the only way to handle shit, and it's not. What about you?
I was actually gonna say, I think I wish my father had just been there. You know, like I've always been the kind of person like I just would just kind of figure shit out on my own. I don't know if that's because I felt like I had to, or it's because he wasn't there. But yeah, I wish they just been there. Like, so shit wasn't so hard for my mom. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and now I find myself always being so protective of her, because I've watched her go through so much shit in my entire life. Even being as a kid, into being a teenager, like I had to watch her go through shit. And I'm just like, it made me resent him in a way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't think people understand the gravity of their actions until it's too late, right? So, like, my dad out doing whatever he was doing, selling drugs or whatever, leading up to me being born. It's like, did you even think about how that would play out in my life? Like, what your actions meant for my future? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, not only just my future, but my mother. Like, this is somebody essentially you chose to partner up with, and now you leave them holding a bag. And whether you send money home or not, big fucking whoop. Like, this person has to take the kid to school every day, feed the kid every day, wash the kid every day, teach the kid, watch over the kid in a fucked up neighborhood at that, right? So you take a job that's meant for two people and you say, here, you do everything by your fucking self. Like, so I wish he was there, like, just to kind of really make life better. Like, that's really what it is. Nah, like, I'm overcompensating for it. I'm showing up for my little brother because I felt like that's how I would want somebody to show up for me. And I'm overcorrecting. Yeah. And I'm fucking doing things for my mom and, my grandmother, because I feel like this is what a man's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Instead of focusing on my own fucking life and my fiance and trying to build the life that you guys have essentially built for yourselves. So, yeah, I wish she was just there. Like,
yeah, all I can say is, like, I'm proud of everybody at this table, because we saw a lot of wrongs. Right. So with those wrongs, we made the decision to correct. Right. We saw what not to do and do the opposite. Which, like I said earlier, is not an easy thing to do. It's easier to just continue going down the road that you started on in the first place.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to have this conversation. That's why I wanted to bring you on, to show people that when you make an effort to change who you are and better yourself so that your kids can be better, so that your kids can be better than what you had, who you were, that it can only just improve the world, like making better people. Constantly, like, being absent from your kid's life, making a conscious decision to put no effort into it. You're fucking up that kid. Yeah. And if he's bright enough to figure it out on his own, shout out to him. But that takes work, and a lot of people aren't willing to do that. Go ahead, Jordan, take us out. Look at that camera right there. Take us out. No.
Slapping the dolphin.
Slapping the dolphin.
I don't know what that means. That's a black saying.
That's definitely not.
A black saying.
We literally set the stage for that joke like an hour ago, and now just, all right, fuck both of y'all.
No. Go ahead, Jordan, do it. Take us out.
All right. Thank you.
No.
This wasn't planned. I don't know what you.
This is good. I like
It's
it.
all good. Well, we thank everybody for listening as usual. Thank
Yep.
you for tuning in.
And
Yes.
if you made it this far, shout out to you.
Word.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, right, Jordan? Make sure that you share it with somebody close to you. If you know somebody who's going to be a dad, if you know a person who has kids, if you know a kid who has a dad, if you know a person in general, send it to them.
Or even if you're a dad with a dad and you feel like your dad wasn't being enough dad.
Dad. If you know somebody who breathes oxygen, send it to them.
100%.
Give it to your dog.
So hit that like, subscribe,
Uh-huh.
and what's the other one? What do they always say?
Hit like,
Hit like,
Turn on your
subscribe,
notifications.
Turn on your notifications.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
all right. You want to
that's
press
it.
the button?
No, fuck that.
Do
This
it,
is the
do
Man
it,
Cave
do it, do
Podcast,
it, do
everybody.
it, do
Thank you
it,
for coming
do
out. We
it.
appreciate y'all. Much love. This is Larry.
George.
Jordan.
Fucking press the
I'm
horn.
not pressing buttons.
Press the fucking horn.
Thank you
I'm not
very
gonna.
much.
No, you gotta. Oh, fuck.